everyone, and thanks for joining me for another devlog for Medieval Life. Medieval Life is a first-person life simulator game that I'm making from scratch in my own game engine. In the game you will be able to explore a procedurally generated medieval world, interact with other characters, get a shop and build your own house. Now you might be wondering, where have you been? It's been 2 years since my last video, and a lot has happened in that time. Let me catch you up. First off, I graduated from university and got my degree as a software engineer. The last exams were pretty tough, but I made it through. After graduation I got a job, so I didn't have much time to work on Medieval Life. In fact, I had to switch jobs a few times to find the right fit. Now I am working at a game studio, which is my dream come true. But the biggest change in my life was that I had an eye surgery. It was a very complex operation that required nearly a year of my attention for recovery and follow-ups. It was a challenging time, but I am happy to report that I'm now fully recovered and my vision is better than ever. Also, I moved from my parents' house to my own apartment, which is a big step for me. I'm still getting settled in, but I'm excited to have my own space to work on Medieval Life. With all this, I didn't have much time to make videos, but regardless, I've been working on Medieval Life on my free time and I made a lot of progress. So let's dive into the new features I've been working on. First up, I made a simple work in progress main menu. Now, it might not look like much right now, but what's exciting is that it's built on a brand new GUI system that I created from scratch. I took inspiration from other UI systems like WPF. Basically, I made a lot of components that I can use to build the UI for the game. The system is responsive and flexible, so I can easily add new features and improve the user experience. Another thing I added is a small character editor. It's still a work in progress, but it's a good start. You can use it to create your own character, customizing things like hair color, skin tone, and outfits. The idea is to keep it pretty simple. My main inspirations are the character editor from games like My Sims, The Sims 1, and Animal Crossing. Next, let's talk about build mode. This is a big feature that I've been working on, and it's starting to take shape. Currently, to get to build mode I need to press enter, but the idea is that you will need to interact with a special object that I will talk about in a future video. What you see here is a very early version of build mode. All the UI is a placeholder, so don't pay much attention to it. Once you are in build mode, the camera changes from first person to an isometric view. I really like this because the player can see the whole house and the surroundings. I don't like a lot of the games that force you to build in first person, since I feel that this limits your creativity. So I prefer to see everything in isometric mode, like the old games. In this corner I have the general control for the build mode, so you can move up and down the stories, rotate the camera, zoom in and out. And one nice thing I added is that you can see the walls in down and up mode, just like The Sims. I still need to implement the cutaway walls, but that's a bit more difficult. At the moment I developed 4 tools: furniture placement, floor placement, drawing walls, and painting walls. So when you click here you can see a list of all the furniture that are available. The idea is that the player won't be able to see all the objects. The player will need to buy them first for another NPC or craft them in the case the player wants to be a woodworker. So once the player acquires a new object, it will appear here and you will be able to place it on the wall. As you can see, I implemented collision detection, so you can't place objects inside other objects or walls in irregular terrain. Some furniture objects like doors and windows will need to be placed in walls. So the next tool is the floor covers. You can see here a list of all the floor covers that are available. The idea is the same as with the furniture. You will need to buy them or craft them. Once you have the floor you want, you can select them and place them in your house. And if you press Shift, you can cover the whole room, and if you press Ctrl, you can remove the floor and expose the terrain. And the next tool is the walls. You can draw walls in the grid by holding your mouse, and you can see here that the walls are now thick. Previously the walls didn't have any depth, they were flat like in all games, like in the original Doom. That was my first idea of the game, but now I added depth and I think it looks a lot better. This was very complex to implement, but I think it gives a nice touch. Another thing I made is that if you hold Shift, the icon changes and you can draw whole rooms. If you press Ctrl, you can remove walls. And having this tool is extremely fun, and I can wait for people to play the game and build their own houses. The last tool is the wall covers. The same as the other tools, the idea is that you will need to buy them or craft them. I am still defining the buying and crafting mechanics, but I will talk about that in the future video. Once you have the walls covered, you can paint the walls. You can combine different styles to make your house unique. I also made that if you hold Shift, you can paint the whole rooms. And I will probably add a button for this so people don't have to remember the shortcuts. Now let's move to life mode. The first big change is that now the characters move following a grid. Previously the character could move freely, but this was very complex because I had to calculate the precise collisions for each character. In fact, I developed a fully working mini physics engine, but I decided to remove it completely because it added a lot of complexity to the game, and it wasn't the idea I had for the game. Now every character moves following the grid. This is for two reasons. The first one is because it's a lot simpler to program because you only need to check if the next cell is free, and that's a lot easier than running a fully physics engine just to know if the character is colliding with some furniture object or something. And the second one is because it gives the game a retro game feeling that I'm looking for. And the movement is like The Sims or like classic RPGs, but in 3D and in first person. And I love that. I haven't found any game that uses that mechanic. I only found a few dungeon crawlers that uses grid movements in first person, but I didn't found a lot of games that use that, so I think this is a key point of the game, that it will use a new mechanic for movement that basically no other games uses. So I think that's cool. I also implemented a very basic interaction system. So when you look at an object in the game world, an interaction selector appears at the bottom of the screen. You can use the mouse wheel to select which interaction you want to perform, and then click it to perform it. For example, here I am looking at this chair and the only interaction I have is to sit. So I select it and the character will start moving towards the chair. I'm not moving my mouse or pressing anything, the character is pathfinding to the chair and then it sits. The way I implemented this is using something called behavior trees. There are a lot of videos about this in YouTube, so I won't go into much detail, but the idea is that every time you pick an interaction, the character will follow a series of steps to perform it. For example, here are the steps to sit in a chair. That's all for this devlog. I want to thank you all for your patience during my long absence, and I'm really excited to be back and I can't wait to share more updates about the game. I'm still defining a lot of game mechanics, so if you have any cool idea or suggestion for the game, please let me know in the comments. I will read all comments and I will try to answer every one of them. Also, if you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing to my channel so you can stay updated with the development of Medieval Life. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!